You've never gone a single day of your life without salt. Not one. Even if you never touched the shaker, it's already in your bread, your cheese, the water you boiled your pasta in. It is in almost everything you eat before you even taste it. But somewhere back in your bloodline, there was a version of you who went weeks without it. Months maybe. A version of you whose body was screaming for something it couldn't find and didn't know when it would find it again. That craving didn't disappear. It's still in you right now. Your ancestors risked their lives for it. They followed elephants across entire landscapes just to find it. They once traded it for its weight in gold. And by the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why your brain still won't let that craving go. For most of human history, salt wasn't a seasoning. It was a hunt. Your body needs sodium the way it needs oxygen, not as a preference, but as a hard biological requirement. Sodium fires your neurons and regulates the fluid around every cell in your body. Without it, your blood pressure collapses, your muscles fail, and within days, you die. Your ancestors' bodies knew this before language, before fire, before anything you'd call culture. So, evolution built an alarm, a craving sharp enough to override hunger itself, sharp enough to make plain food feel unfinished. That alarm is still wired into you. The only thing that's changed is how hard it used to be to answer it. 200,000 years ago, there was no salt aisle, no mining, no trade, no jar to reach into. What existed was a landscape that hid sodium in scattered, unreliable places, and a body that would not stop asking for it. Early humans became detectives of the earth. They watched what animals did because animals were already solving this problem. Elephants in East Africa walk up to 40 kilometers to reach mineral caves, chipping salt-laced rock from the walls with their tusks. Gorillas in the Congo dig into riverbanks for sodium-rich soil. Deer lick exposed mineral deposits wherever they find them. This wasn't random, it was instinct. And your ancestors were close enough observers to notice the pattern. Where the herds went to lick the rock, humans went too. But following animals only got you so far. Salt licks and mineral springs aren't spread evenly across the planet. In parts of the world where early humans evolved, sodium sources were sparse, and researchers studying ancient diets describe this as a kind of permanent background stress. Not a single crisis, but a body that was quietly, constantly undersupplied. And that pressure changed how people behaved toward each other. When a group found a rare mineral source, food, honey, salt, it typically wasn't kept by one person. It moved through the group. Because a body that finds sodium and doesn't share it still leaves the rest of the tribe vulnerable, and a vulnerable tribe doesn't survive long. Salt sharing wasn't generosity in the way we think of it today. It was strategy. It kept everyone alive. Picture a small group, 20 or so people, moving across a dry stretch of what is now East Africa, roughly 100,000 years ago. The rains have been thin. The animals have moved on, and so have they. One woman leads them toward a bend in a dried-out riverbed. She's been here before. She remembers a place where the clay smells different, where a faint white crust forms after the ground dries. They reach it, kneel down, and scrape the crust into their palms with flat stones and bare fingers. They eat it directly. It tastes sharp, mineral, almost bitter, nothing like the clean crystal salt you know. But their bodies respond instantly. Something in them settles. They stay there for 2 nights. Then the deposit begins to thin out, and they move on, because that was the entire rhythm of salt for most of human history. Find it, use it, and leave before it runs out. Some ancient groups solved this differently, not by finding salt, but by never fully losing it in the first place. Hunter-gatherer populations who ate diets heavy in wild meat and organs were pulling sodium directly from their food. A freshly killed animal's liver, eaten warm, delivers real usable sodium straight into the body. Some modern hunter-gatherer communities studied by anthropologists don't add salt to their food at all, and yet their sodium levels stay balanced because the food itself hasn't been stripped of what their bodies need. For a long stretch of human history, that was the answer. Not seasoning, just eating the animal the way it came. Then everything changed, and it wasn't a war or a disaster. It was grain. When humans began settling down and building their diets around wheat, barley, and rice, they solved the problem of starvation and created a new one. Grain contains almost no sodium. A diet built on cereal crops leaves the body chronically short on the one mineral your nervous system can't manufacture for itself. The ancient alarm that had always been quietly present suddenly became unbearable because the food that used to carry sodium into the body stopped doing that job. Skeletal evidence from early farming populations shows people who were shorter, less healthy, and more nutritionally deficient than the hunter-gatherers who came before them. Farming fed more people, it just fed them worse. And somewhere in that gap between more food and worse food, salt stopped being a background craving and became a necessity people would organize their entire lives around. So they stopped waiting for the earth to give it up. They started making it themselves. Around 8,000 years ago, in what is now northeastern Romania, people were boiling brine from a natural salt spring inside heavy ceramic pots, holding them over fire for hours until the water evaporated and left behind a crust of white crystal. The pots cracked constantly from the heat. They made new ones and kept going, season after season for generations. This wasn't an accident. It was a process repeated deliberately at scale. Thousands of years before writing, before cities, before anything resembling a civilization existed there. And the salt didn't stay in one place. Traces of it have been found in soil and tools far from where it was made, carried outward, traded, distributed to people who needed it and couldn't make it themselves.